Captain June Kim stood at the viewing deck of the Earth Space Force vessel Dauntless. The massive space station of the Galactic Council hung before them, its ring-shaped structure glittering with thousands of lights. After decades of searching, the stars, humans had finally made contact with alien life. Not just one species, but dozens that formed an alliance spanning half the galaxy. "Captain, we're receiving docking instructions," said Lieutenant Sue Park from her station. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel. "Acknowledged," June replied. He took a deep breath. This moment would change human history forever. The Dauntless was not Earth's most advanced ship. It was small, barely 300 meters long, but it was the best choice for humanity's first diplomatic mission. Fast, reliable, and equipped with Earth's finest crew. "All personnel prepare for docking," June announced over the ship's speakers. "Remember, we represent all of humanity today." The ship slid smoothly into the docking bay. Through the viewports, June could see figures waiting for them. Tall, short, some with many limbs, others floating in the air. The aliens had come to bow, greet the newcomers. Dr. Jin Song, the mission's lead scientist, joined June at the airlock. "Ready, Captain?" "As ready as anyone can be to meet aliens," June smiled. "Let's make a good impression." The airlock hissed open. The air from the station smelled clean but strange. A delegation of 5 aliens stood before them. At the center was a tall, blue-skinned being with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like stars. "Welcome, humans, to the Galactic Council Station," the blue being said in perfect English. "I am Counselor Vala of the Eridani. We have been monitoring your transmissions and learning your languages." June stepped forward and bowed slightly. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we thank you for your welcome. I am Captain June Kim." "Thu," tallest alien, nearly 3 meters high with red rock-like skin, laughed. The sound was like stones grinding together. "These humans are smaller than I expected," he rumbled. "Like children. How did such tiny creatures build spaceships?" "Ambassador, Drex of the Multari," Vala introduced with a hint of disapproval. "Not all species measure worth by size." June kept his face neutral. He was used to this. At 175 centimeters, he was average for a human male. But here, among these giants, he felt like a child at an adult's table. "Size can be deceiving," June said politely. "Humans have overcome many challenges." A third alien stepped forward. This one looked like a walking crystal with light reflecting through its body in rainbow patterns. "I am Ix of the Vex," it said, voice sounding like wind chimes. "We are most interested in your biology. Our scans show unusual readings." Dr. Jin Song nodded respectfully. "We look forward to sharing scientific knowledge." The human delegation followed the aliens into the station. The corridors were vast, designed to accommodate species of all sizes. They passed beings that floated in air, slithered on many legs, or moved in ways that defied Earth physics. They reached a large circular room with a dome ceiling showing the stars outside. Representatives from at least 20 different species sat around a massive table. "The council chamber," Vala explained. "Here, all voices are equal. Today we hear Earth's voice for the first time." As they took their seats, June noticed something strange. Despite the many different body types, most aliens moved slowly and deliberately. Even the smallest ones lacked the quick, sudden movements humans made without thinking. Ambassador Drex of the Multari sat across from them, his massive frame making the chair look like a toy. "Tell us, little humans," Drex said, leaning forward. "Your planet has many predator species, yes? Yet you have no claws, no fangs, no natural armor. How did you become the dominant species?" Before June could answer, Lieutenant Park whispered in his ear. "Sir, I'm receiving strange energy readings. Something's happening outside the station." June was about to respond when alarms blared throughout the chamber. Red lights flashed along the walls. "We are under attack," a voice announced over speakers. "All representatives to secure locations. This is not a drill." The chamber erupted in chaos. Many alien representatives froze in place. Others made high-pitched sounds of distress. Some huddled together or hid under the table. "Who would attack the council?" Jin asked, remaining calm despite the alarms. Vala's glowing eyes dimmed with fear. The Krell. They raid border worlds, take resources and slaves. They have never been bold enough to attack the Council directly. Through the dome ceiling, June saw dark ships surrounding the station. They were shaped like arrowheads, black and threatening. "How many security forces do you have on the station?" June asked. "Not enough," Vala admitted. "The Council has existed in peace for centuries. We maintain only a small security team." A massive explosion shook the station. The lights flickered. "They've breached the outer hull," Vala said, voice trembling. "The Krell will be inside within minutes." June looked at his team. They had trained for combat situations, even if this was supposed to be a diplomatic mission. He saw determination in their eyes. "Lieutenant Park, contact the Dauntless. Tell them to prepare defensive measures," June ordered. "Sergeant Han, distribute weapons to our security team." "You intend to fight?" Drex asked, sounding surprised. "The Krell are fierce warriors twice your size with natural armor. They will crush you." June's face hardened. "We won't sit and wait to be captured." Another explosion rocked the station. The doors to the chamber burst open. 3 massive figures stormed in, each over 2 meters tall with gray, scaly skin and natural armor plates. Their eyes were yellow with vertical pupils. They carried energy weapons and moved with predatory grace. "Krell warriors," Vala whispered, in horror. The lead Krell scanned the room and laughed, showing rows of sharp teeth. "The mighty Council cowering like prey. You will all serve the Krell Empire now." The room fell silent. The Council representatives remained frozen in fear. Then a single figure stepped forward. Captain June Kim walked calmly toward the Krell, stopping 10 meters away. He stood straight, shoulders back, chin up. Next to the towering alien, he looked tiny, fragile. "This station is under the protection of Earth," June said, voice clear and strong. "I suggest you leave peacefully." The Krell stared for a moment, then made a sound like rocks in a grinder. Laughter. "Earth? We have not heard of this world. What gives a tiny creature like you the right to challenge the Krell?" June didn't flinch. "I am giving you one chance to withdraw." The lead Krell raised his weapon. "Your bones will make fine trophies, little human." In that moment, something happened that would become legendary in Council records. Captain June Kim moved. To the watching aliens, it was a blur. Where humans came from, where life was competitive and dangerous, speed meant survival. The Council species, evolving in less threatening environments, had never developed such reflexes. June ducked under the energy blast, closed the distance to the first Krell, and struck with precision at vulnerable points on the alien's body. The human seemed to anticipate the Krell's movements before they happened. Behind him, the human security team engaged the other Krell warriors. Lieutenant Park moved with similar speed, while Sergeant Han showed strength surprising for his size. The Council representatives watched in shock as the small humans fought with intelligence and coordination that overcame their physical disadvantages. The battle had just begun. Nobody knew it yet, but the galaxy was about to learn why, pound for pound, humans were the deadliest species in the galaxy. The lead Krell warrior staggered backward, surprised by Captain June's attack. The alien's yellow eyes narrowed in confusion. How could something so small move so fast? "Kill them all!" the Krell leader shouted to his warriors. More Krell soldiers poured into the Council chamber. The alien diplomats scattered, seeking shelter behind furniture or rushing toward emergency exits. Only the humans stood their ground. Lieutenant Sue Park pulled out her standard-issue energy pistol. It was small, compared to the Krell weapons, but she handled it with practiced ease. "Captain, there are at least 12 Krell warriors entering the chamber," she reported calmly. Sergeant Han Tae moved to protect Dr. Jin Song. "Stay behind me, Doctor." Jin nodded. As a scientist, he wasn't trained for combat, but he showed no fear. "Their armor appears thickest on the chest and back. Look for joints and neck areas." Captain June assessed the situation quickly. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned. The Krell had natural armor and superior strength. But June had seen this situation before, not with aliens but in Earth's military training. When facing a stronger enemy, use their strength against them. Lieutenant Park, Sergeant Han, Pattern Delta, June called out. The humans immediately understood. They had trained together for years and knew dozens of combat patterns. Delta meant divide and isolate. The three humans split up, moving in different directions. This forced the Krell to divide their attention. The aliens were used to intimidating enemies with their size and strength. They weren't prepared for prey that fought back with strategy. Ambassador Drex of the Moltari had taken cover behind an overturned table. His massive frame couldn't hide completely. He watched with wide eyes as the small humans darted between the Krell warriors, moving like water around rocks. Impossible, he muttered. Counselor Vala had retreated to a corner with several other diplomats. Her telepathic abilities let her sense emotions in the room. The Krell radiated anger and bloodlust. But the humans, their feelings were different. There was fear, yes, but it was controlled, channeled into something else. Determination, focus, even a strange excitement. Lieutenant Park found herself cornered by two Krell warriors. They approached slowly, confident in their victory. Her energy pistol had already proven barely effective against their thick hide. She needed something else. Park looked around quickly. Her eyes landed on an environmental control panel on the wall. She remembered Jin's briefing about the station. The council maintained different atmospheric sections for various species. As the Krell closed in, Park fired 3 precise shots at the panel. Immediately, vents in the ceiling opened, releasing a thick, heavy gas into that section of the room. The Krell warriors looked up in confusion. The gas was harmless but dense, designed for high-gravity species to breathe comfortably. In the suddenly thick atmosphere, the Krell's movements slowed. Their massive bodies, evolved for standard gravity conditions, became sluggish. Park, however, had grown up in Earth's gravity, higher than standard council settings. She moved through the dense gas with relative ease, outmaneuvering the struggling. "Krell? Humans?" she heard one Krell gurgle in frustration. "Too quick." Across the chamber, Sergeant Han faced his own challenge. A Krell warrior had him pinned behind a column, firing energy blasts that chipped away at his cover. Han couldn't advance or retreat without exposing himself. The Krell moved closer, sensing victory. It didn't see Han remove his metal belt buckle and polish it quickly against his uniform. When the Krell stepped out to take its final shot, Han held the makeshift mirror around the edge of the column, reflecting the bright emergency lights directly into the alien's sensitive eyes. The Krell shrieked, temporarily blinded. Han used this moment to spring forward, targeting the unarmored joint at the back of the Krell's knee. The alien crashed down and Han delivered a precise strike to a nerve cluster in its neck, a vulnerable point Dr. Jin had identified based on xenobiology data. Captain June, meanwhile, faced the Krell leader. This warrior was larger than the others with battle scars crossing its scaly face. It wielded an energy staff that crackled with power. "Your tricks won't save you, human," the Krell growled. "I am Vortak, commander of the Skullbreaker Legion. I have conquered worlds larger than yours." June didn't waste energy with a response. On Earth, predators often announced themselves with roars and displays. Prey animals did the same when cornered, but human hunters learned long ago to be silent, to save breath for the fight. Vortak charged, swinging his energy staff in a wide arc. June waited until the last possible second before dropping flat to the floor. The staff passed harmlessly above him. Before Vortak could recover, June rolled behind him, springing up to strike at the back of the alien's knees. The Krell commander stumbled but didn't fall. He spun around faster than June expected and caught the human with a backhand blow. June flew across the room, crashing into the council table. Pain shot through his body. He tasted blood, but June pushed himself up. Immediately, Earth creatures evolved falling damage resistance after millions of years in trees. Humans could take hits that would cripple many species. From his hiding place, Ambassador Drex watched in amazement. "He should be broken," he whispered. "How? Is he still moving?" Counselor Vala, sensing June's pain through her telepathic abilities, was equally shocked. Their species has remarkable damage tolerance, she said, and their nervous system, it's producing chemicals to block the pain. Across the chamber, Dr. Jin had not remained passive. While the others fought, he studied the station's control interfaces. The Council used standardized systems, and Jin had studied alien technology extensively before the mission. He accessed emergency protocols, triggering lockdowns in sections of the station already secured by Krell forces. This trapped many invaders, preventing them from joining the battle in the Council chamber. Through station sensors, Jin discovered something important. "Captain," he called out. "The Krell ship is docking on level 3. They're bringing in more troops." Lieutenant Park heard this as she disabled her second Krell opponent. "I can reach level 3 through the maintenance tunnels," she called back. "If I can seal the airlock, we can cut off their reinforcements." "Too dangerous alone," June replied, dodging another attack from Vortak. "I'll go with her," Sergeant Han said, finishing his opponent with a strike to the throat. June nodded. "Go, Dr. Jin, find Counselor Vala and the others. Get them to the secure room we passed earlier." The humans moved with decisive speed. Park and Han slipped out a side entrance while Jin gathered the cowering diplomatic staff. Left alone with Vortak and 2 remaining Krell warriors, Captain June felt a familiar sensation washing over him. Earth scientists called it hyperfocus, a state where human minds processed information at accelerated rates where time seemed to slow. "You fight well for prey," Vortak growled, circling June cautiously now. "But you're alone, human. Your companions have fled." June allowed himself a small smile. "They haven't fled. They're completing their objectives." The Krell commander frowned. "Objectives? You planned this?" "Humans always have a plan," June said. "And a backup plan, and sometimes a backup for the backup." For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Vortak's yellow eyes. This small creature wasn't behaving like prey should. It wasn't panicking or begging for mercy. Instead, it was acting with purpose, with confidence. The Krell warriors looked to their commander, waiting for orders. In that moment of hesitation, June saw his opening. The fight was far from over, but something had changed. The aliens were beginning to understand that they had severely underestimated these humans. While Captain June faced the Krell commander in the council chamber, Lieutenant Park and Sergeant Han moved through the station's maintenance tunnels. These narrow passages were perfect for humans, but difficult for the larger Krell to navigate. "How much further to level 3? Han asked, checking his weapon. 2 more junctions, Park replied. She had memorized the station layout during their approach. Humans had evolved excellent spatial memory, a trait that helped ancient hunters find their way home after long chases. They reached a junction where the tunnel split in 3 directions. Park pointed left without hesitation. As they moved forward, they heard heavy footsteps and harsh voices ahead. "More Krell," Han whispered. "At least 4, maybe 5. Park nodded. "We need a diversion." Han looked around the maintenance tunnel. He spotted pipes labeled with alien symbols. Dr. Jin had briefed them on basic station systems. One pipe carried coolant for the environmental systems. "If we rupture the coolant line, it will create a fog," Han suggested. "It's non-toxic, but will reduce visibility." "Perfect," Park agreed. Han used his knife to carefully cut into the pipe. Cold mist began filling the tunnel. Then Park took a small device from her pocket, a sonic emitter used for communication. She adjusted its frequency to create a high-pitched noise and tossed it down the right corridor. The Krell guards heard the noise and moved to investigate, walking straight into the coolant fog. As they stumbled around in confusion, Park and Han slipped past them, continuing toward the docking bay. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Dr. Jin led a group of council diplomats to safety. Among them was Ix, the crystalline Vex scientist. As they hurried through corridors, Jin and Ix spoke quickly. "Your captain fights in a way I've never seen," Ix said, crystal body reflecting light as they moved. "Most species either freeze or flee from predators like the Krell." Jin nodded. "Humans evolved differently. On Earth, we weren't the strongest or fastest animals, We couldn't fly or breathe underwater, but we had something else. What was that? Ix asked. Adaptability, Jin replied. And endurance. Ancient humans could chase prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. No other Earth predator hunts that way. They reached the secure room and Jin helped the diplomats inside. Counselor Vala was the last to enter. Your mind is fascinating, Dr. Jin, she said, her telepathic abilities sensing his thoughts. You feel fear, yet you function perfectly. How? Jin smiled slightly. Humans don't eliminate fear, we use it. Our bodies produce chemicals, adrenaline, endorphins, cortisol, that turn fear into focus. Back in the council chamber, Captain June continued his battle with Vortak. The Krell commander had superior strength and reach, but June had learned his patterns. Each time Vortak attacked, June was ready. Stand still and die with honor. Vortak growled in frustration. June didn't waste energy responding. Instead, he used Vortak's anger against him. Angry opponents made mistakes. This was true for humans and apparently for Krell as well. From his hiding place, Ambassador Drex of the Moltari continued watching the fight. Despite his earlier mockery of humans, he now studied Captain June with growing respect. The human moved with precision that belied his small size. Vortak swung his energy staff in a powerful arc. Instead of dodging backward as before, June stepped into the attack, getting too close for the staff to be effective. He struck at nerve points on Vortak's arm, causing the Krell to roar in pain. Impossible, Vortak snarled. How do you know? Krell weak points? The truth was, June didn't, but human warriors had studied anatomy for thousands of years. Certain principles applied across many species. Joint connections, nerve clusters, pressure points. June was applying Earth combat knowledge to an alien opponent, adapting in real time. In the docking bay on level 3, Park and Han reached their destination. Through a viewport, they could see the Krell ship attached to the station. More warriors were preparing to board. We need to seal the airlock, Park said. But the controls are on the other side, past those guards. Han studied the situation. There's another way. Look. He pointed to a maintenance panel. We can override the emergency systems. Park nodded. Earth training emphasized multiple solutions to problems. While other species might see only the obvious path, humans instinctively looked for alternatives. Han opened the panel and began rewiring connections. It wasn't elegant, but it was effective. Warning lights began flashing in the docking bay. Atmospheric. Contamination detected, announced the station's computer. Emergency protocol activated. The Krell in the docking bay looked around in confusion. Before they could react, emergency barriers slammed down, sealing the airlock. The Krell ship was now cut off from the station. Nicely done, Park said with a small smile. Not finished yet, Han replied. He continued working on the panel. If I can reroute power to the emergency defense systems, the station shuddered as hidden defense turrets activated, firing on the Krell ship. The ship's shields flared but held. However, it was enough to force the ship to detach from the station to avoid further damage. Reinforcements blocked, Han said with satisfaction. Back in the medical section, Dr. Jin was treating injured diplomats with Ix's help. As they worked, Jin explained more about humans. Most evolved species specialize, Jin said. Some become stronger, faster, or develop special abilities like your crystalline structure or Counselor Vala's telepathy. And humans? Ix asked, watching. Jin treat a wound with skilled hands. We remained generalists, Jin replied. Not the best at anything, but good at everything. We can adapt to almost any environment, from deserts to Arctic regions. We eat almost anything. We use tools to overcome our limitations. Ix's crystalline form sparkled, the Vex equivalent of nodding. Fascinating. That explains why your ship's database shows such a wide variety of human cultures and technologies. Exactly, Jin said. Different human groups found different solutions to the same problems. What works in a desert might not work in a jungle, so we learned to improvise to use whatever was available. In the council chamber, June was learning the limits of human endurance. Vortak had landed several powerful blows. June's ribs ached, and blood trickled from a cut above his eye, but he remained on his feet. Vortak was showing signs of fatigue as well. The Krell was breathing heavily, his movements slowing. He wasn't used to prolonged combat. The Krell typically overwhelmed opponents quickly with superior strength. "You should have fallen by now," Vortak said between heavy breaths. June wiped blood from his face. "Humans don't fall easily." Ambassador Drex could no longer contain his amazement. He emerged from hiding and addressed Vortak. "Krell, this human has fought with honor against a superior opponent. This battle is pointless now. Your reinforcements are cut off. The Council will be sending help soon." Vortak hesitated, looking from Drex to June. Before he could decide, the chamber doors opened. Lieutenant Park and Sergeant Han returned. Weapons ready. "Captain," Park reported. "The Krell ship has been forced to disengage. Station defenses are online." Vortak looked at the three humans, then at his remaining warriors. The odds had shifted. Even with his superior strength, fighting three humans who had already proven their capabilities was not wise. "This isn't over, humans," Vortak growled. "The Krell Empire will remember this." With a gesture to his warriors, Vortak began backing toward an exit. June made no move to stop them. Earth military doctrine taught conservation of resources. The threat was neutralized for now. There was no need to risk further injury pursuing a retreating enemy. As the Krell departed, Council representatives began emerging from hiding places around the chamber. They stared at the humans with new eyes. "You fought them off," Councillor Vala said in amazement. "No species has ever repelled a Krell attack force before." Captain June straightened his uniform, hiding his pain. "We did what was necessary, Ambassador." Drex approached June. The massive Moltari looked down at the human, but there was respect in his eyes now. "I misjudged you, Captain," he admitted. "Your species may be small, but you are fierce warriors." June nodded in acknowledgement. "Size isn't everything, Ambassador. Sometimes the smallest creatures are the most dangerous." The Council representatives gathered around the humans, seeing them differently now. These weren't just small, primitive newcomers. They were something the galaxy had never encountered before. A species that combined intelligence with controlled aggression, adaptation with determination. The humans had proven their worth, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 hours after the initial attack, the situation on the Council station had improved. The Krell forces were in retreat, fighting only where they were trapped. Emergency teams were repairing damage to the station. The diplomats were safe. But the battle wasn't over. Captain June sat in a small medical room letting Dr. Jin check his injuries. Lieutenant Park stood guard at the door while Sergeant Han monitored station communications. 3 broken ribs, Jin said, running a scanner over June's chest, and a mild concussion. "You should rest." June shook his head. "No time. The Krell still have fighters on board. Their main ship is disabled but not destroyed." Councillor Vala entered the room, her glowing eyes dim with concern. "Captain, you've done enough. Our security forces can handle the remaining Krell." "With respect, Councillor," June said, standing. "Despite the pain, your security forces weren't enough before. The Krell commander Vortak is still on the station. He won't give up easily." Vala's eyes shifted colors, a sign of emotion among the Eridani. "You're injured. Fighting Vortak again would be unwise." June put his uniform jacket back on, hiding his grimace of pain. "Sometimes the wisest choice isn't the safest one, Han." Turned from the communications console. "Captain, I've located Vortak. He's in the central control hub with 5 warriors. They've taken 3 technicians hostage." "What are they doing?" June asked. "Downloading station data," Han replied. "Defense codes, council member information, star charts, and they're planting explosive devices." June nodded grimly. "If they can't conquer the station, they'll try to destroy it. Typical raider mentality." Vala looked alarmed. "The station houses over 5,000 beings from 27 species. Many can't survive evacuation." "Then we don't evacuate," June said. "We remove the threat." Lieutenant Park checked her weapon. The control hub has only 2 entrances, both heavily guarded. A direct assault would endanger the hostages. We need a third option, June said. The door opened and Ambassador Drex ducked his massive frame into the room. Despite his size, the Moltari moved quietly. Perhaps I can help, he rumbled. There is a maintenance shaft that leads to the hub. It's too small for Moltari or Krell, but a human might fit. June looked at the ambassador with new respect. You're being surprisingly helpful. Drex's rocky face shifted in what might have been a smile. Let's say I've reconsidered my opinion of humans. 20 minutes later, June crawled through a narrow maintenance shaft. His broken ribs screamed with every movement, but he pushed the pain aside. Human minds could compartmentalize pain when necessary, another survival trait from Earth's harsh evolution. The shaft was barely large enough for his shoulders. Any bigger species would be stuck. June thought of Earth's cave explorers who navigated spaces so tight they had to exhale just to squeeze through. Humans had a unique comfort with confined spaces compared to many species. He reached a small vent overlooking the control hub. Through it, he could see Vortak and his warriors. The Krell commander was standing over a terrified technician, forcing them to download data. 2 other technicians huddled in a corner, guarded by armed Krell. June tapped his communicator once, a signal to his team that he was in position. The plan was simple, but risky. Lieutenant Park and Sergeant Han would create a distraction at the main entrance. When the Krell were focused there, June would enter through the vent and neutralize as many as possible before they realized what was happening. On cue, an explosion rocked the main entrance. Alarms blared. 4 of the 5 Krell warriors moved. Toward the sound, weapons ready. Vortak stayed with the hostages, growing angry. Hurry, he shouted at the technician. We need those codes now. June quietly removed the vent cover and dropped silently to the floor behind a large console. His body protested, but he ignored it. Focus was all that mattered now. 1 Krell warrior remained near Vortak. June needed to take him out first. He picked up a small tool from a nearby workstation and threw it across the room. It clattered loudly against the far wall. The warrior turned toward the noise. June moved, fast and quiet. Years of training took over. He struck precise points on the Krell's body, the base of the neck behind the knee, the nerve cluster under the arm. The warrior collapsed without a sound, but June wasn't fast enough. Vortak turned and saw him. You! The Krell commander snarled, drawing his weapon. I should have killed you when I had the chance. June didn't waste breath responding. He dove, behind cover as Vortak fired. Energy blasts tore into the console, sending sparks flying. The 3 hostages scrambled away, seeking shelter from the fight. Vortak ignored them, focused entirely on June. You can't hide, human, Vortak growled, stalking forward. I can smell your blood. You're injured, weakened. June moved from cover to cover, staying 1 step ahead of Vortak's shots. But the Krell commander was right. June was weakening. Each movement sent pain shooting through his chest. His vision blurred occasionally from the concussion. Outside, the sounds of fighting grew louder. Park and Han were engaging the other Krell warriors, but they couldn't help June yet. Vortak's next shot grazed June's arm, burning through the uniform and searing the skin beneath. June stumbled, falling to 1 knee behind a workstation. Finally, Vortak said, approaching slowly, weapon raised. No more running, no more tricks, die with dignity, tiny human. June looked up at the towering Krell. Blood ran down his arm. His ribs felt like fire. Breathing was difficult. And then something changed. Counselor Vala, monitoring the situation telepathically from a safe distance, suddenly gasped. His mind, it's transforming. Ambassador Drex looked at her with concern. What do you mean? The human's brain chemistry is changing rapidly, Vala said, eyes wide. I've never felt anything like it. Inside June's body, a hormonal cascade was occurring. Adrenaline flooded his system. Endorphins blocked pain signals. His pupils dilated. Blood rushed to major muscle groups. Breathing deepened. Time seemed to slow. Earth scientists called it many things. Hyperarousal, the combat response, survival mode. It was the final adaptation of a species evolved to survive against all odds. When pushed to the breaking point, humans didn't give up. They transformed. Vortak saw the change in June's eyes and hesitated. The human had been cornered, injured, outmatched. He should have shown fear. Instead, June's lips curved into a small, strange smile, and then he laughed. The sound echoed in the control hub, not hysterical, not frightened, but genuinely amused. The laugh of a predator, not prey. Vortak took an unconscious step back. "What's wrong with you?" June rose to his feet, still smiling. "You know, on Earth we have a saying." His voice was calm, almost conversational. "It's not the size of the dog in the fight." He moved suddenly, faster than before, as if his injuries no longer mattered. Vortak fired, but June was already elsewhere. "It's the size of the fight in the dog." Vortak had never faced an opponent like this, one who grew stronger when cornered, who seemed to feed on challenge itself. The Krell began firing wildly, but June was always just beyond his aim. In the corridor outside, Lieutenant Park and Sergeant Han had finished with the other Krell warriors. They entered the control hub to find an unexpected scene. Captain June Kim, wounded and outnumbered, was systematically dismantling the Krell commander. Not with brute force, but with precision, speed, and a calculated ferocity that made even his fellow humans pause. When it ended, Vortak lay unconscious on the floor. June stood over him, breathing hard, blood dripping from his wounds, but unbowed. And around the room, the alien hostages stared in silent awe at the small human who had done the impossible. 2 days after the Krell attack, the Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. The Grand Chamber had been repaired, though scorch marks still showed on some walls. Security had been increased throughout the station. Captain June sat with his team at a special table near the center of the room. His injuries had been treated, though bandages were still visible on his arm. Lieutenant Park and Sergeant Han flanked him, looking formal in their Earth Space Force uniforms. Dr. Jin sat beside them, data tablet in hand. Representatives from 27 species filled the chamber. Many stole glances at the humans, whispering among themselves. Word of the battle with the Krell had spread throughout the station. Counselor Vala stood at the central podium, her glowing eyes scanning the room. "This emergency session will now begin," she announced. 2 days ago, our station was attacked by Krell forces. For the first time in Council history, such an attack was successfully repelled. She turned toward the human delegation. "Thanks primarily to our new friends from Earth." Murmurs filled the chamber, some approving, others uncertain. Ambassador Drex of the Moltari rose from his seat. "The humans fought with courage and skill I have rarely witnessed," he said, his rocky voice carrying across the room. "I admit I judged them too quickly based on their size." Another representative stood, a thin, floating being with multiple tentacles. "But this raises concerns," it said in a high, musical voice. "If humans are so effective at violence, what guarantee do we have of their peaceful intentions?" More murmurs, louder now. June exchanged glances with his team. This was the reaction they had feared, that demonstrating human capabilities would create fear rather than respect. Dr. Jin stood, holding his data tablet. "If I may address the council?" Vala nodded. The floor recognizes Dr. Jin's Song of Earth. Jin walked to the center of the chamber. Unlike Captain June, he had no combat training. His strength was knowledge. But in that moment, he represented humanity, just as much as the soldiers had during the battle. "Honorable representatives," Jin began, "I understand your concerns. You've seen what humans can do in combat, and it frightens you. But I would like to explain why we are the way we are." He activated his tablet, projecting images above the central table. The first showed Earth from space, a blue and green sphere. "This is our home," Jin said. "A planet of extreme environments, frozen poles and burning deserts, tall mountains and deep oceans. To survive there, humans had to adapt to every condition." The image changed to show Earth animals: lions, bears, sharks, venomous snakes, and more. These are just a few of Earth's predator species, Jin continued. Each specialized for hunting. Faster, stronger, or more deadly than humans. We evolved surrounded by danger, always the underdogs. A ripple of surprise passed through the alien representatives. Many had assumed humans were apex predators on their world. To survive, Jin said, we couldn't specialize like most species do. We couldn't be just stronger or faster or better armored. We had to be adaptable. We had to use our minds as well as our bodies. The images shifted again, showing human achievements, ancient tools, early agriculture, modern cities, spacecraft. Each stage of our development, we faced challenges that could have destroyed us. Climate changes, diseases, resource scarcity, wars among ourselves. Each time, we adapted and survived. Jin paused, looking around the chamber. Yes, humans can be dangerous when threatened, but the same adaptability that makes us effective fighters also drives us to find peaceful solutions. We prefer cooperation to conflict, building to destroying. Ambassador, Drex nodded slowly. During the battle, I noticed the humans took great care to minimize damage to the station. They could have used more destructive methods against the Krell, but chose precision instead. Counselor Vala stepped forward. I can confirm this. As a telepath, I sensed the humans' minds during combat. They fought not from hatred or bloodlust, but from duty, protection. They were defending others, not just themselves. Jin smiled gratefully at Vala before continuing. The Krell's mistake was assuming smaller meant weaker. They didn't understand that Earth's challenges created a species that turns disadvantages into strengths. The chamber was silent now, all attention focused on Jin. Consider this, he said. When the Krell commander cornered Captain June, when defeat seemed certain, the captain didn't surrender. He didn't panic. Instead, he reached what we call the breaking point, where humans perform beyond normal limitations. Jin looked at his captain with respect. Earth history is full of such moments. Individuals lifting vehicles to save trapped children, wounded soldiers continuing to fight to protect comrades, lost explorers surviving conditions that should be fatal. He turned back to the council. This isn't unique to our military. All humans have this potential. It's part of who we are. Captain June stood now, joining Jin at the center of the chamber. Though still recovering from his injuries, he stood straight and spoke clearly. What Dr. Jin says is true, June said. But there's something else you should know about humans. Our greatest strength isn't how we fight. It's why we fight. June gestured around the chamber. Look at what you've built here. 27 species working together in peace, sharing knowledge, resources, culture. On Earth, we call this civilization. It's what we value most. He paused, making eye contact with various representatives. The Krell attacked this place because they value only power, domination. They don't understand that true strength comes from cooperation, not conquest. A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. Fine words from such a deadly species, the Yao. Crowd parted to reveal a Krell official, not Vortak, but a sleeker, more diplomatic version of the reptilian species. He wore formal attire rather than battle armor. Ambassador Krall of the Krell Empire, Vala announced, surprise in her voice. We did not expect your presence. Krall moved forward, his yellow eyes fixed on June. After the incident, my government felt direct communication was necessary. The Krell ambassador stopped a few meters from June. Though he tried to hide it, a flicker of unease crossed his reptilian features. You defeated our commander, Krall said. No species has done that before. The Krell respect strength. June nodded once. We would prefer to have your respect without bloodshed. Krall made a sound that might have been a laugh. Perhaps. But know this. The Krell Empire will be watching Earth closely now. You've revealed yourselves as interesting. The threat was thinly veiled, but June remained calm. We come in peace, Ambassador. But we will defend ourselves and our allies if necessary. After Krall departed, the council discussion continued for hours. Many representatives remained concerned about human capabilities. Others saw potential benefits to having such allies. As the session neared its end, Counselor Vala called for quiet. "I propose a new role within the Galactic Council," she announced. "Earth has shown qualities unique among our member species. They combine peaceful intentions with protective capabilities." Looked at the human delegation. "We propose that humans serve as guardians of the Council, not conquerors or warriors for hire, but protectors who can defend when words fail." The vote was not unanimous, but the majority approved. As the session ended, representatives approached, the humans with new respect in their eyes. Ambassador Drex was the first to reach June. The massive Moltari extended a rocky hand in the human gesture of a handshake. "Captain Kim," he rumbled, "when you first arrived, I thought you insignificant because of your size. I now see the error in my thinking." June shook the offered hand. "Size isn't everything, Ambassador." Drex nodded. "Indeed. Pound for pound, your species may be the deadliest in the galaxy." He paused, then added, "And for once I'm grateful for that fact." 1 year later, reports came from across Council space. Raids on border worlds had decreased to near zero. Pirate activity was down. Even the Krell Empire had become more diplomatic in its dealings. Throughout the galaxy, a saying spread among those who might consider attacking Council worlds: "Beware the small ones from the third planet. They don't know how to give up." The Council's historical archives, the Krell attack became known as the Day of Revelation, when the galaxy learned that sometimes the most dangerous species aren't the biggest or strongest, but those who evolved against all odds, who turned disadvantages into strengths, and who fight hardest when victory seems impossible. Pound for pound, humans had proven themselves the deadliest species in the galaxy, and the galaxy was safer for it. The end.